Yep. We are being live streamed right now. Maybe right now.
Oh.
I'm not 100,000%. Yeah, now we're good. Hi. Hi. Greetings. Hi. Welcome to Next
Hello.
Level. This is Next Level from Level with Emily. I'm the host, Emily Reese, and I'm joined by producer Sam Keenan. Say hi, Sam.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah. We didn't even have a chance to chat beforehand today. I was tied up in a boss battle that I'm still tied up in, actually. I'm just waiting in a corner until we're done here so I can finish. So I have to occasionally move the controller. These are the kinds of things
Destiny?
You wouldn't say in certain meetings. I don't even want to talk about it. I just don't even want to talk about it. But yeah, so that's happening. And so I was a little late, but this is the audience that will understand that particular life struggle. And I'm grateful for it. But before we get into this week's guest, which is Ego Plum, we talked more about the Cuphead show. Just curious how you're doing, Sam.
I'm doing okay. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I beat Mass Effect 2.
You did?
So,
okay.
So we're going to have some talks about that.
Yeah. Yeah, we sure will, because it's all downhill from here, my friend.
That's what I've heard. I'm not super anxious to start 3, but just because I need a break, because I'm not
you
so
should
much
take
of a
break.
gamer, but
yeah, I mean, and that's just reasonable, I think, for anyone that's tackling a massive RPG heavy on the narrative trilogy. Is a good idea to take a little rest particularly between 2 and 3. I really I didn't hate 3 at all. I was disgusted by everything that happened around the ending. I was disgusted that they changed it. I mean, all of that was gross. But if you're yearning for more of that world, which you will at some point, even if you don't feel it now, I thought it was fine. It was fine. I was upset,
yeah.
I mean, I was bummed, but
well,
have you ever been excited by the third of anything? Third of anything ever?
There were some movie trilogies, but then I watched the third one. It's usually bad, but
that's what I mean. Yeah. See, it's like you're excited for the third. Yeah. But anyway, you were gonna say more.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I was surprised at how much I enjoyed playing Mass Effect 2. I gotta say, it was fun.
It's a good one.
And yeah, the extra powers that you get and stuff. And I tried out, different things between the biotics and the mech or electronic stuff. I forget what they call it, but
tech stuff.
Yeah.
Tech
stuff.
No,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I don't remember what they call it either. Honestly, it's been so long, but oh man, that's good. That's good. It's a good thing. I just can't believe you played something that has shooting. I mean, I know that I've seen you play games with shooting, and it's not because it's not any kind of ethical or moral thing that it's just not your style. And so,
yeah,
I'm playing Mass Effect. I'm like, what effect? What? the one with guns? You're going to be shooting things. But and then of course it's much more active in Mass Effect 2, but I'm glad you liked it. It's a great one. But yeah, we will have a more official, that is of course not our purpose of being here today.
No.
Yeah, but it's an important.
Well, yeah, we'll have a long discussion about that at some point.
I'm excited.
Maybe keep it to our Patreon members.
Yeah.
That are most interested.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We actually have some super exciting things coming up, I think, for patrons, and we'll talk more about that in a more appropriate setting as well. But otherwise, I interviewed Gary Scheiman today, which was
sweet,
as perfect as it always is.
Yeah.
I realized we have the same hair, which you'll see in the video, side by side. We have the same hair, which is pretty funny. So but
what game did he do? What's his new?
It's called Forspoken.
Okay.
It's a new IP from company that is kind of housed under Square Enix. Luminous, I think. Luminous.
Okay.
Maybe? Bunch of really great writers and, people who have been in the industry for a while, or maybe some Hollywood writers, just like big, huge AAA project. And his music is, it's fantastic. So that was
Cool.
fun. That's what I was up to today. And we'll hear that one in a few weeks. But yeah, and I didn't even get all the music. I only got like 6 or 7 tracks, but
Okay.
yeah, I think I had like 22 minutes of music. So I got to listen to it a lot, which was nice. But yeah, that was fun. But anyway, this week's episode, Ego Plum.
Yeah. Ego Plum. Yeah.
Ego Plum. We had him on almost exactly a year ago, right when the Cuphead show was going to start, which the Cuphead show, of course, is what was spun off from the wildly popular video game from 16 or 17 called Cuphead, which had a great jazz soundtrack, all the things. And we had that composer, Chris Madigan, on the show. Then when Netflix made the animated series, Ego started doing the music because Ego writes for cartoons. It's his deal. He's like made a career out of being a composer for animated things. So
Super cool.
What'd you think? I'm gonna move my controller really quick. What'd you think?
It was great. I mean, I'm a sucker for everything about it. I'm a huge fan of 2D animation. I love Cuphead. I played that game a bit. It was very, very hard.
It's very hard.
But I wanted to be good at it just because I love the style and I love the cartoon. I haven't watched any of the newest episodes, but yeah, that style of music, that style of cartooning, everything about it is my kind of thing. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it's very up your alley. Like you've done some animation yourself, and of course being a composer, like you get it. Like composition for animation is unique and special. It's as unique and special as video game composition, right? It's like its own world with its own expectations. And that's really great. It makes it just special and fun. And the music, he's so heavily influenced by like Danny Elfman, right? You can hear the mischievous, the darkness in the light, or the light that's in the darkness, whichever way you want to look at it. And that's really cool.
No, that was the other key thing, just for me personally, is that I was a huge fan of Danny Elfman when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I used to sit and listen to the Edward Scissorhands soundtrack. I absolutely loved that.
I listened to
trying to think of what it was called. Yeah. And like Looney Tunes and old Tex Avery and all that stuff, it like it's just huge for me. And like there's an old cartoon, there's an old Droopy Dog cartoon where it was one of the ones, I think it was an early one with him, but the whole cartoon was he had this little record player and he was putting on this like old-timey jazz and sitting there and like snapping his fingers and dancing, and then he would get kicked out of all these places for like annoying them for his music. And when I was a kid, I absolutely loved that cartoon, and it led me into listening to swing era jazz and old timey recordings and stuff at a pretty young age. And they do a great job of like kind of doing a modern take on that stuff, and that was really fun to hear. And he gets into talking a little bit about the behind the scenes of building that stuff, and also dealing with the stupid pandemic and having to like try and piece it together with musicians not in the same room and everything. And I'll be glad when we get through hearing those stories. But
Gary had quite a good one today as well. So it's gonna be a while, I think, before we're done hearing those stories, because so many of these things get recorded. I mean, the Cuphead stuff happened fairly quickly, but during the pandemic. But of course, Forspoken is coming out now, which people have been more or less back to normal recording in a way for longer. But yeah, the Forspoken stuff was recorded long enough ago that I won't spoil the story, but it's amazing. It's amazing what that forced people into in all kinds of ways, right? Not just
Yeah.
obviously in the recorded music industry, in like a million different, I mean, it upended everything. So yeah,
but you're right. We'll be
crazy.
dealing with hearing about production in those times for a while, I'm sure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and hopefully not anything ever again or worse than what that was. So yeah. Other big news this week that happened in nerddom was, of course, the release of The Last of Us, which came out on HBO. I have not
Right.
watched it yet. I know you haven't watched it,
Yeah.
but I heard it was great. And from people that I trust, mostly just Holly Harrison. She knows everything.
Yeah.
But we'll be sure we mention that too in the future. But I was up at 4 a.m. the next day, so I did not want to stay up to watch it because I think it premiered at like 9 p.m. or something like that, and I was already in bed and it wasn't going to happen. But yeah.
Well, as you know, I was making a list the other day with a friend of like, if I'm gonna try and learn about actually playing more games, about like what games maybe I should put on my list, and The Last of Us was one of the ones at the top of my list, maybe partially just because of that show coming out and it being in the zeitgeist. But I've just heard lots of people talking about how great that game is, the first one in particular, but I haven't played it.
Yeah. I think your next game should be Skyrim.
Yeah, maybe. Is that an RPG?
Yeah. Big time.
Okay.
Yeah. No guns though. No guns.
Okay.
Bows and arrows though. That makes it worth it.
Right,
a million things make it worth it. But yeah, I'm half kidding. But that would be fun to go over that list with you and weigh in on a few things and maybe toss some ideas your way about other things to try. But yeah, that's cool. So Ego Plum coming up in just a couple of days for our level episode. There's video that we'll be posting as well, and he's always really fun to chat with. And he's always very curious about game music because, of course, this isn't a game like the Cuphead show is a TV show, but but he's always just he's a curious person, which I really appreciate about him. So it was a fun chat.
Yeah, and in that interview too, it's like pretty much every topic you guys covered I wanted to hear even more about from him, because it's just interesting stuff, and it's interesting hearing him kind of describing some of the process and and just getting the cues right, and kind of the massive undertaking of the whole thing, taking it a step at a time, and all that kind of stuff that he talked about. It's just interesting stuff for people who are into that sort of thing.
Yeah, and if you think video game cues are short, then just get into the cues of animation, which are like 29 seconds long. It's crazy.
But which is totally crazy, because you got to do all that arrangement work and everything that you would have to do for a longer cue anyway. And then he's talking about putting in just like all the little moments you have to land in a scene and all that kind of stuff, which game music people get into sometimes in the cutscenes and stuff. But
it's a very different, like that, because there's of course stingers and certain pieces of music that'll trigger when certain things happen, but those are assigned to something. It's not like but it's fascinating. I love it. So anything else to add about Ego before we go?
Ego, I don't think so. Just that he's a surprisingly humble fella for a guy named Ego.
He's a neat dude. I loved it. And I can't wait to talk to him again. And so cool. All right, Sam Keenan. Well, we'll see you on the flip side. Join us on Discord to talk about this and other episodes. I'm not talking to you anymore, Sam. I'm talking to you. Beyond the fourth wall. Join us on Discord. That link is in the show notes. Find us on Patreon and Twitter, Facebook. All the links, all the important links are down below. We have merch as well, so those things will be down there too. So thanks for joining us.
And our shows drop on Fridays.
That's true. That's a very important detail. Normally Friday mornings, largely dependent on our work schedules, but sometimes it happens. So usually it happens, actually, I would say. But yeah, look for it Friday.